As a renowned Islamic scholar, transformational speaker, teacher, and mentor, Abdulfattah Adeyemi has inspired countless lives with his insightful lectures and compassionate guidance. Connect with a community of like-minded individuals seeking knowledge and achieving greatness.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. My name is Abdulfattah Adeyemi. This is the first part of our discussion on the topic, the validity of divorce in marriage. Today, let us look at many of the consistently cited marital problems perceived by men and women as the cause of divorce. But first, the phenomenon of divorce. Divorce is an act of decreation. We hear of nikah as creating a marriage. Divorce is the opposite. Divorce is to decreate the marriage. Divorce is where marriage is the construction of a shared world that is built with the bricks of common memories, private languages that only a couple can understand, and constructed with interwoven futures, life histories written into one another, chapters that are incomplete without the mention of the other person. Divorce is the meticulous, often painful dismantling of that very edifice. It's a home that is collapsed. It is the disassembling of a machine from the inside out, where every loosened bolt represents a shattered dream or a relocated belonging. Things that we share together, we begin to separate which belongs to whom and which one belongs to what. And then we have the rewritten history of one another. It's a major disruption on the smooth progression of life of the couples. It's a lived paradox, It's a decision aimed at peace, and that peace is born from immense turmoil. It's a decision aimed at harmony, but that harmony generates commotion. It's a pursuit of individual truth that necessitates the breakdown of a collective reality. Beyond the private heartache, divorce exists as a formidable social and philosophical phenomenon. It's a stark litmus test for the values of an age. What is happening to this generation? Why is divorce so easy for them to call off just like that? Or is it really that easy for them? Is the sanctity of marriage not of value to this generation anymore? Divorce prompts a sobering inquiry into the nature of commitment in this our transient world. Divorce forces a society to question where the line lies between healthy self-preservation and consummate self-interest. That is, divorce speaks to the tension between individual fulfillment and collective responsibility, between the pursuit of personal happiness and the wholesomeness of a covenant of marriage. In the rising prevalence of divorce, we see the reflection of modern emancipation. That is to say, we see the empowerment of individuals, particularly women. And this empowerment exits untenable situations and gives them that room, gives them that latitude. It also gives them that confidence to move out of some situations that they don't feel comfortable with. Marriages especially. The women are empowered. The men are also empowered. Everybody thinks there are many other things that are more important to consider than the covenant of marriage. And it is not something that you do without any string attached. They believe that for any marriage to hold, your own interest has to be protected, not the collective interest necessarily. So here's a question. Does the freedom to dissolve a union liberate us to find more authentic connections? Or does it fundamentally erode our capacity for endurance? Is it to say that we don't know how to sacrifice anymore? Or is it to say that we don't have the capacity to appreciate the deep hard work that love requires? But let's take caution here. To solely frame divorce as a failure is to ignore its tragic and redemptive complexity. Because if we look at it critically, we will realize that divorce is simultaneously a death and a delivery. It is the death of a particular kind of love, a particular family structure, and a particular future that was once held inviolable. But for many, it's also a brutal and necessary birth into a new form of authenticity. It is reclamation of a self that had been lost within the union. The same vacuum left by the dismantling of that shared world becomes the space for new growth and a more nuanced understanding of love itself. In other words, divorce stands as one of the most human of experiences. It's also a proof to our capacity for error, our hunger for peace, and our hope for a dawn after the long night. That is the phenomenon of divorce. But having said that, let me share some interesting but disturbing divorce scenarios with you. Take a case in point. A lady called up her mother, crying and explaining that her husband had, just beaten her up again. That's what he had been doing. So the mother advised her that she should find a safe space to smoke weed when the husband is not at home, so as to forget the pain and sadness that this situation is causing her. The question is this a solution from a mother to a daughter? Take another case in point. A man came back from work. He ate his food, and while still chewing the meat, he reached for his office bag and handed the wife a letter. Do you know what is in the letter? It was a letter of divorce. The question is divorce that simple? The man just came back. He hardly finished eating his dinner, and the next thing he did was to hand over the divorce letter to the wife. He already prepared this from the office, and then he expects that the wife should just pack her things and leave his house. Is that how divorce is? Let me tell you another one. I witnessed a wedding, a very big, loud, and expensive wedding. 3 months after that wedding, I saw the husband with a long plaster on his cheek. What happened? The wife gave him a bite because she caught him sexting and cheating on her. And he, in turn, beat her up. He beat her up when he discovered that she was already pregnant for somebody else before that wedding day. And that was the end of the marriage. I'm asking, is this what marriage has been reduced into? Is this how divorce should just happen, just like that? You see, many couples are already divorced without even knowing it. They have pronounced divorce severally, and they have settled somehow, then divorce again, settled again, and repeat again. They have been doing this for years. Are they really married, or are they really divorced? There are also couples who didn't do any nikah in the first place, and they were just living in. They assumed that living together for many years would automatically become marriage legally. In this way, Some have had many children out of wedlock without any legal commitment whatsoever. Some are still married, but they think they are divorced. They had a quarrel. They separated for many years, but they confused that for divorce. The woman went ahead to marry another man, and the man just moved on as if the marriage was over. Others will divorce, the man will kick the woman out and hold on to the children, and the woman will never be allowed to see the children again. Is that how to divorce? On the other hand, a woman runs away with the children and the man will never have access to the children again. And this is sometimes with a connivance with her family. Now tell me, what really is happening to marriages? What is happening to divorce? As we speak now, there are many legal battles going on in the courts surrounding child custody, alimony, separation of joint businesses and assets, criminal allegations, terrible accusations, and character assassinations. They fight blindly, they fight dirty, they fight to finish. What is going on? How did we get here? There are many more frequently posed questions surrounding the incidence of divorce. Given such high expectations of marriage, why do these relationships break down just like that? Don't they have more information now than before about what should make a marriage to work? Don't they have access to lectures, seminars, books, blogs, videos on YouTube, talks on podcasts, everywhere you go? Yet, with all this information, divorce is still prevalent. What are the reasons for the prevalence of divorce despite this age of information that we so claim? Can divorce ever be prevented? How? Should divorce be encouraged? What? Now let's look into some of the social context of marriage and divorce. Perhaps when I ask further questions, maybe we'll be able to reach some answers. Now I ask you further, in your own opinion, do you think divorce is more prevalent in the rural areas than in the cities, or vice versa? Do you think educated people and people you will consider illiterate, which of them do you think divorces more? Educated people or illiterate? I'm asking some questions. Rich or poor, who divorces more? Early marriage or late marriages, who divorces more? People in the cities and those in the villages, who divorces more? Now, let me ask you again, your own opinion. Do divorces occur as a result of destiny? Because when we can't point out a reasonable cause for divorce, we say that's how Allah wants it. Don't we say that sometimes? And similarly, could it be that there are spiritual causes to the death of some marriages? That is, divorce due to some supernatural causes of sorcery, of charm, of spell, evil eye, and so on and so forth. What do you believe about this? I'm asking you these questions because in some cases, a happy couple will just turn against each other and love will suddenly turn to hate. Then they divorce on flimsy reasons. So today, let us look at many of the consistently cited marital problems perceived by men and women as the cause of divorce. And this includes the following. It's going to be a long journey. I want you to please follow me gradually and we get somewhere, inshallah. Number one, contemporary social value changes. The social recognition and the adoption and the endorsement of a variety of personal relationships and sexual behaviors. You see, the availability of effective contraception is another problem. So when I say people have different personal relationships, people in places of work, they are just casual friends. They feel you just socialize. Men and women would mingle. They think nothing is wrong with that. They have some dates and they feel nothing is attached to that. And when people do this, they don't consider whether a particular man or woman is married or not. It doesn't matter to them anymore. These are some of the problems in the social network now. And we, in the name of socializing, we pass our boundaries and we cross the lines and things begin to go downwards from there. Then we have the higher emphasis on more access for women to education and employment opportunities, often more than men. Don't get me wrong. The problem with this is that rather than balance up, it becomes lopsided. The same way it was wrong to educate only men at the expense of women, it's also wrong to educate women and empower women at the expense of men. The imbalance and injustice always have their consequences. You understand what I'm trying to say now? What I mean is, well, many people talk about women empowerment now. Women are more empowered than men now, and these women are not ready to stay married to men that are dragging them down financially and in any other way you want to look at it. In other words, when there's disbalance, there's always the consequence that comes with it. Several researchers have also observed a tendency for marital quality to have declined over the past several decades as a result of two things: increased expectations of marriage and favorable attitudes towards divorce. Then you get to see the removal of the social stigma of illegitimacy of both marriage and children, and then the illegitimacy of divorce itself. The social stigma has been removed from divorce. It has been removed from being married without proper nikah, and of course having children out of wedlock. And of course there's the prevalence and the social endorsement of single parenting, or what people call baby mamas, or what they call baby mothers, and so on and so forth. All of these things are problems, and it doesn't matter how we look at it, things are still going wrong in one way or the other. A person will introduce himself, or a woman will introduce herself and say, I'm a single lady, or I'm a single mother. Those kind of things. People don't have any shame in introducing themselves like that. And everybody feels, well, that's a single father there, and it's not a problem. In an affluent society where men and women can earn higher incomes, this type of society provides an alternative to unsatisfactory marriages. And how do they do that? Well, this is possibly due to an ideological emphasis on personal growth within such a community. That's another problem now. You have a society where people have wealth, people can get rich if they want to get rich. A man can become rich, a woman can become rich. Nothing is wrong with this. But when the ideology of such a society is on the emphasis on personal growth within a community, personal growth as against family growth, as against collective growth, as against, husband and wife growing together. The downside of this is that individual rights and choice may conflict with the ethos of responsibility. It may conflict with the ethos of compromise and commitment and cooperation. So it's like, I grow because I want to grow. If you don't want to grow, you can die if you want. I want to grow, I want to progress. You don't want to progress, then I'm out. Or things like that. So what I'm trying to say is that when things are not balanced, it is one of the main reasons why we have the prevalence of divorce in our society today. People don't want to cooperate to grow together. Everybody is reading self-help books to help themselves alone. There's no more that sense of communal, responsibilities. There's no sense of joint responsibilities. Couples don't know how to cooperate to grow together anymore. Everybody wants to grow on their own, and as a result of that, everybody is about I, me, and myself. And when that comes up, it is not conducive to a longevity of any meaningful marriage. After a while, the couples will grow apart and everybody will mind their business. Number two reason why possibly there's a prevalence of divorce in the society is that of poor communication, not being understood, feeling that needs are not being met, loss of affection and companionship, feeling lonely and unappreciated. Such reasons are likely to be symptoms of problems with deeper psychological or social roots. People will rather communicate with people on their social media handles than communicate with their partners that are sitting beside them in the house. And this is a major problem. People no longer know how to express themselves. They no longer know how to show respect as such. They don't really enjoy one-on-one conversations as such. And they have followers on the social media in thousands. Yet, they cannot be followers of each other in the home as husband and wife. They have fans. They have people who appreciate them. They have people, who are their crushes outside the marriage through the social media. But their husbands or their wives are not their crushes, and they are not people that they follow or they follow each other. They just don't care. And as a result of that, everybody finds a way at the end of it all. And you start feeling unappreciated because honestly, many people don't know how to communicate. They cannot sit down for 5 minutes and have meaningful discussion. But they can spend hours on the social media chatting with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. This, in my own opinion, is a serious matter. It's a serious problem. A man cannot sit down with his wife and talk for 10 minutes. A woman cannot sit down with a husband and have meaningful conversation for 5 minutes. This is a big problem. Number 3, basic unhappiness. Now, when people get married, people will say happy married life. There's happiness, there's marriage, there's life. Not everybody is able to combine all the three at once. Some people are happy, but they are not married. Some people are married, but they are not happy. And there's some people who are married, but they don't have a life. It takes the special grace of Allah to combine happiness with a marriage life. Everyone is looking for that happiness, but they don't even know it even when they find it. They can't be happy and they don't have the capacity to make anyone happy. If you cannot make yourself happy, you cannot make anybody happy. And even if you find happiness in your partner, you can't recognize happiness because your opinion and your definition of happiness is so vague and unattainable to the extent that not any human being can make you achieve that transcendence of happiness that you are looking for. You got all blessings around you, yet you don't appreciate it. And how can you be happy? Number 4 reason, possibly, for divorce is loss of love and incompatibility. This is also an elephant in the room. Is everything about marriage based on love and feelings? Is love overrated? Can you trust your heart? Is love everything? I'm asking these questions. Maybe as time goes on, we'll find ways of explaining into details about these questions I'm asking. But the reality is that life and marriage is not all about how you feel. Don't trust your heart. Be real about situations. Remove those expectations that are unattainable. And be ready to admit that you are flawed and you are married to a partner that's not any better than you. So it's not all about love. There's the aspect of commitment. It's not all about your feelings. There's the aspect of being realistic. Number 5, marital distance and loneliness. Complaining and criticizing lead to contempt. These also lead to defensiveness. which leads to listener withdrawal from interaction when couples begin to stonewall. These are the general processes of negative couple interaction. Whatever their cause, that leads down the pathway to divorce. And number 6, infidelity. We have already been talking about this in our previous videos, and I want you to go through them again and see all the things we have discussed about matters of infidelity. This often connotes deterioration in the effective and emotional realm of the marriage associated with loss of love, betrayal of trust, indifference, and growing apart as a couple. Men or women, who even cheats more? And if you say it is men, I ask you, with whom do they cheat? If it is women, I ask you, is it not with men that they cheat? So it's more or less like 50-50, men or women. The society is so degenerated that it's not so much of a big deal anymore. Astaghfirullah, may Allah save us from all of this. But I'm telling you, amongst the marriages that have led themselves down the path of divorce, infidelity is a major cause of this. And number 7, sexual incompatibility, wide gap of libido differences, sexual dysfunctions. We shall examine this factor also further in detail in another talk ahead. I want you to stay tuned, and we are going to get to that inshallah. But gross sexual incompatibility is a major factor when it comes to separation of the union that leads to divorce, of course. Number 8, poor physical health. This can strain finances. It can affect sexual relations. It can create tensions around caring for the sick or leading to diminished marital dissatisfaction. So poor health is a major issue that can lead to divorce. Number 9, mental health illnesses, and psychiatric situations, depression, and such others that appear to have a greater impact on marital satisfaction than many physical illnesses. Some people have undiagnosed and untreated mental illnesses. Some people have compulsive obsessive disorders, and some people have traumas that they are dealing with, or some traumas that they have not even been able to come to terms with. Yet everybody is allowed to come into marriage as they are. Number 10, addictions to drugs and other substance abuse, alcoholism, addiction to pornography, masturbation, as well as addiction to the social media. Talking about phone freaks, all of these are part of things that may lead to divorce. Then number 11, conflict over men's and women's roles. You see, contemporary expectations of marriage place a high value on meeting these ambiguous desires for mutuality, desire for intimacy, happiness, and self-fulfillment, rather than fulfilling the more well-defined expectations that are associated with traditional breadwinner husband and homemaker wife roles. People are confused now. What are you supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What are the roles of the husband? What are the roles of the wife? We can be traditional about this. Even if we go contemporary, there should still be certain things, delimitations of what you should do and what I should do. But when there's this conflict over who should do what and what, this can lead to divorce. And number 12, spouses' personality traits, abusive behaviors, extreme jealousy, oppressive dominance, and emotional immaturity. Then we have physical and emotional violence, desertion, cruelty, excessive anger, incurable personality disorders, malignant narcissism, and general temperamental incompatibility. With any of these alone, divorce is imminent. And number 13, external pressures, factors outside the interpersonal relationship that may impinge on the relationship, and this can in turn generate stress, confusion, deception, and undue pressures, and so many other factors that can lead to marriage breakdown. So external pressures are there, and they are very important. And another one that is similar to that, number 14, is work-related demands and pressures that generate tension and stress. And this may go unrecognized for many years. However, they can also spill over into family life in the form of lack of time, in the form of depletion of emotional and physical energy to invest in the marriage. Quality time with the spouse, quality time for the children. Without this quality time, we can get into marital conflict and dissatisfaction. Well, we have to struggle, we have to make money, we have to make ends meet, we have to, look for livelihood. But is it at the expense of the quality time we should spend with the family? Now, sometimes you find people who are actually married to their jobs, married to their works, and they think they can just press pause on the family until when they reach higher up above the ladder of their career, the ladder of their success in life that they are in pursuit of. Unfortunately, by the time they realize all this, the family is already gone. And most of the time, the marriage is dissolved because of work and work-related lack of time or work-related problems that comes up and spills over into the marriage itself. Number 15, we have financial problems. Aha! You know this very well. But let us look at it this way. It is possible that couples may not recognize that they have that concerns about income or insecure employment. They may not recognize that these may underline some of the stresses and tensions in the relationship. And these, of course, will eventually contribute to the breakdown of that relationship. They just watch things disintegrate without paying attention to the financial tensions in the family. Now, when I say financial tension, they come in two ways. The first of them is that financial hardship. It can increase isolation, it can increase emotional stress, it can lead to depression, and sometimes it can lower self-esteem, which in turn can generate or exacerbate marital strains. The second one is a very important very important point to note, and that is not financial strain, not that they don't have money, but that the control of that money is different from inadequate finances. The way finances are handled in a marriage can represent underlying issues of power and authority in a relationship. And this will contribute to overall dissatisfaction. In other words, even when the money is there, and these couples begin to look at money as everything. To respect each other, it has to be founded on money. To control and give authority in the marriage, it has to be founded on who has more money. When the wife has more money, she kind of take over the marriage. She kind of assume the role of the husband. She kind of begin to be powerful. Well, Allah knows best. And finances in that regard may become a problem. Husband and wife may be very rich financially. But when the matters of finance are now seen as matters of authority and control rather than utility to sustain love and affection, then there may be a problem. And that is why even people who are very wealthy, they seek divorce. So you can't say it is money that is their problem. The finance is there, but what do they use this finance for? What does this finance dictate in their lives? And this may contribute to overall dissatisfaction. One person trying to oppress the other person with the wealth, and the other person trying to suppress the other person because they are either richer or they are competing with each other when it comes to matters of finance. So don't be surprised that even with all the financial things, couples are still dissatisfied with each other because marriage is not always all about the finance. There is more to marriage than money. Number 16, family interference. This interference from in-laws. The family in-laws type may affect the longevity of that marriage, the atmosphere of the marriage, the energy that the family, extended family, bring into the couple's life, the tradition of that family, the in-laws, and certain enmity that may come from there. Nobody planned for this, but it's not automatic that your in-laws will like you. It's not automatic that your in-laws will respect you or respect your boundaries. There may be some hostile traits from some in-laws, and there's some selfishness in some family setups. Some in-laws, they operate like a clique or like a cult. They operate like a bubble. And you marrying into their families or marrying from their families, there may be problem there. I may discuss this much further as we move ahead. But let's go into number 17. Marital stress and distress. Marriage itself is work. It's not always a picnic. You have to be intentional about marriage. Marriage is not business as usual. You might need to readjust your lifestyle. You might need to tinker with your usual schedules. Now that you are married, your spouse has to know where you are. They have to know where you are going. Your spouse may have to know when you are to return. And you will need to consult before you take major decisions. You will need to carry each other along, almost literally. Besides, you have to start thinking twice before you do or say anything. If you are not mentally prepared to do the work of marriage, then you might get overwhelmed and you might start considering divorce. In other words, marriage is work. If you are not ready to walk the walk of marriage, then it's going to lead to divorce. It's a lot of sacrifice of ego and a lot of sacrifice of freedom, so to speak. Not that you are not free, not that you're in a cage or in prison, but you have to understand that marriage is work, and you know you are not alone now. You have to consider the other person at all times. And number 18, children problems. Can a couple divorce due to lack of children? Or can a couple divorce due to too many children? Or can a partner's attitude to children lead to divorce? Parental values and styles, as well as disagreements about raising children, could become major problems. And these issues may be linked to communication, to incompatibility, or spousal personality issues. Take, for instance, it could be discovered that the man shows signs and tendencies towards incest and pedophilia. The wife should leave the marriage and file for child custody. So in other words, child upbringing factors, child upbringing styles may lead to divorce eventually. A woman that is not motherly, a woman that is not caring for the children, the man may decide to leave her because of her poor attitude towards care of the children and towards proper upbringing of the children. A man may feel that this woman is a bad influence on these children in terms of drug addiction and many other things that are immoral, and some things that have tendencies towards traumatizing the lives of the children, or towards leading to criminal tendencies in the children as a result of the behaviors of the wife or the husband, or as a result of the attitudes of either of them. These can also lead to divorce. And number 19 is life course factors. The wife is going east, the husband is going west. When a couple has totally different life paths, if there's a distinct polarity of interests, of careers, of ambitions and aspirations, of values and life goals, the marriage won't last. That's the situation. If we have polarity of interest, then the marriage will not move ahead. Then number 20, length of the marriage. The length of marriage may affect couples' perceptions of problems. And take for instance now, the factors that lead to a marriage breakdown after 3 years are probably different from those that lead to marriage ending after 15 years. That is, some marriages face their worst challenges within the first 5 years. As soon as the honeymoon phase disappears, some couples cannot cope with the realities of settling down. Expectations are flung out through the windows, and love walks out of the door to make room for regret and anxiety. Inexperience challenges all the fantastic ideas they thought they had about marriage. And if they are not mentored, they begin to consider divorce. And some problems may be recognized early in the marriage. Other complaints may develop as the marriage progresses. Values and aspirations once shared may diverge over time. Temperaments and habits once tolerated may become unbearable over time. Some situations, such as poor communication or sexual incompatibility, may be able to be tolerated for longer periods of time than, for example, abusive behaviors. Now, let's go to the last one now. The lack of Islamic spirituality. That's number 21. Not understanding their place in life and not realizing that Allah is in the center of the marriage itself. We are going to look more into this 21st factor that may lead into divorce in the next one. I want you to stay tuned, and I want to appreciate that you have been with me all the while we are discussing and looking at various reasons that may lead to divorce between husband and wife. So we can stay tuned, and let's go on for the next one, and we are going to see more of some of these common reasons that may lead into divorce. May Allah make it easy for us, and may Allah bless our homes. May Allah have mercy on all of us to be able to stand tall and to hold on to the rope of Almighty Allah, so that the marriage that we so treasure would not lead into divorce. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Acquire Abdulfattah Adeyemi's soul-lifting handmade masterpieces and experience the divine beauty of Islamic artistry. Book counseling and therapy sessions to access a safe space to heal and thrive. Join the community. Transform your life. Edit your universe.